into Spanish. And this actually came out of Argentina, so that when we first produced the To Be a Christian, Bishop Nick Dreyfus, right? And Bishop Nick Dreyfus and another, and Archbishop Greg said, we really want to translate this into Spanish. And so they translated it into Spanish in Argentina. It was the first edition that we had. So the newest edition in English has more on the sacraments and a little bit fuller, but it's still a great resource. Hacer un Cristiano ya está disponible para cada uno de ustedes. Solo tienen que mandarnos un email y vamos a mandarlo a ustedes electrónicamente. Los publicadores is Crossways Publishers, who have the publishing rights for To Be a Christian. And they're not ready to produce it yet. We can share the digital copy that I have now, but the official copy of the ACNA is being published by Crossways, and they're putting it into Spanish, so they have their own translators and things, so that they're insisting on doing it themselves instead of using. So they're starting from the beginning and translating it over, which is quite a frustration. But it's available for anyone who wants it. All you have to do is drop me an email, drop Galen an email, send an email to the ACNA task force, and it will come to me. También estamos ofreciendo recursos como Caminemos Juntos. Una cosa muy importante para nosotros es que ya tenemos la oportunidad a compartir con ustedes en sus diócesis cómo podemos hacer o cómo podemos ofrecer ministerio en español. Como dijo el arzobispo anoche, yo claro que no estaba aquí, pero ojalá que ustedes saben que todo fue, como ahora, grabado y está en el YouTube channel de Caminemos Juntos. And so last night I had the opportunity to see Bishop Foley's sermon and to participate in the worship with you last night via the Caminemos Juntos YouTube channel. And it was fantastic. And one of the things he said so clearly, one is that we are a church of three streams, right? Or a cord of three, a rope of three strands cannot be easily broken. Que somos evangélicos, que somos carismáticos y que somos católicos anglicanos. Que formando una, ¿cómo se dice? Una trenza. Una trenza fuertísima. Somos mejores juntos que separados. Cuando nuestros diócesis pueden trabajar juntos, somos más poderosos y podemos compartir el Evangelio mejor. Entonces, queremos ofrecer Caminemos Juntos en Florida, en Kansas, en Illinois, en California. Por favor, habla con sus obispos pidiéndoles a invitarnos a venir a sus diócesis para ofrecer nuestros servicios y compartir nuestros recursos. La otra cosa muy importante, another thing that's really important, and the reason we're doing everything bilingually here, es que hay muchas personas que piensan, tengo que hablar español perfectamente, o no puedo ofrecer un ministerio en español. Right? So we have the false belief that we have to speak Spanish perfectly. Claro que estoy aprendiendo español. Yo hace errores todo el tiempo. Right? Una vez yo predicó contra, quería decir pandillas, pero yo predicó contra banderas. Dijo a la congregación, mire, estoy muy preocupado acerca de sus hijos. Cuando están saliendo de la casa vestidos como banderas, ese es muy peligroso. Y ellos estaban sonriendo. Este es importante, ¿por qué está diciendo eso? Finalmente mi esposa levantó y dijo, ay, mi amor, me enseñó esa es una bandera. Right? Ay, caramba, right? So, I was sharing that, clearly I'm still learning Spanish, and one time I got up and preached a sermon. I wanted to preach against gangs because in my neighborhood, gangs were really prolific and kids were starting to dress like gang members, talking about how dangerous it was. But I got mixed up the name for a flag, bandera, and for a gang, pandilla, and I said banderas. So I said, if your kids are dressing like flags, this is really dangerous, and I'm very worried about your kids. And they were laughing, and I thought, how come you're laughing? This is really important. And finally my wife got up and she said, honey, you're preaching against flags. So, mira, esa es la cosa. Cada inmigrante aquí está aprendiendo inglés. Ellos entienden que está difícil hablar un otro idioma. Y si estamos tratando de compartir el evangelio en su propio idioma, ellos van a tener compasión con nosotros, right? So if we're trying to preach the word in their language, they're going to have all sorts of compassion on us and give us lots of leeway. Pero es una oportunidad a aprender inglés para los que están aprendiendo inglés, and for us to learn Spanish on the other side. So, yeah, estamos listos para el almuerzo. I was the filler today, right? Tuvimos que esperar porque el almuerzo no era listo. Creo que sí está listo. Right?
No, you're never filler.
Oh, thank you.
You're just in time.
Are there any questions for me or anything?
Bishop, when did you start learning Spanish?
Well, I started learning Spanish right out of seminary. So I was sent to Mexico and El Salvador to learn Spanish, and then by God's grace I married a Latina, and so we speak Spanish in the house. But my ministry has ebbed and flowed with regards to how much Spanish I use. Preguntas, sugerencias. Yeah.
Sí, quería preguntarle si hay alguna manera de motivar a nuestro obispo Rick a hablar español.
¿Quién es su obispo?
Ryan Rick.
Oh, Ryan Reed. Well, él habla suficiente español. Cuando pasamos a un restaurante mexicano, él siempre conoce cómo se ordenar, sus enchiladas y todo eso. No, yo sé que él habla más que están diciendo, right? So the question was, how can I help to motivate Bishop Ryan Reed in the Diocese of Fort Worth to learn more Spanish? Pídele. Yo sé que su corazón es para servir. Él es muy amigo mío. Y yo sé que él quiere compartir con ustedes, pero él tiene un poco de, no vergüenza, pero él es un poco tímido, diciendo, ay, pero si hace un error, dile, no puedes hacer un error. Si estamos compartiendo acerca de nuestro Señor, no puedes hacer un error. So, just encourage him to speak. And the same for Bishop Keith, who's here, and all of our bishops, right? Just as Archbishop Tito is, speaking English, it's not his first language. Spanish isn't my first language, but podemos reunirse alrededor del Evangelio. Podemos reunirse alrededor del altar de nuestro Señor. Ese es su deseo, que cada uno de nosotros tenemos un hogar en la iglesia. Other questions, thoughts, preguntas? I want to really encourage you to speak with Father Galen about the formation of the prayer book and all that we're doing. We're spending really thousands and thousands of hours going through each line, and it's formatted exactly like the prayer book in English.
What about the Psalms? Is it going to be a psalter or just?
Yeah, so ella está pidiendo acerca de los Salmos. The problem with the Psalms is that we either have to go back and translate them originally ourselves or use a different version. We have received just like there is no ESV version in Spanish, right? No hay una traducción de este ESV, English Standard Version. Entonces estamos usando nueva versión internacional, the NIV version. Entonces los salmos son tomados directamente desde el NIV, for whom we have copyright. We've applied and paid for copyright permission privileges, and so we couldn't. That was the one problem. The Book of Common Prayer 2019. All the scripture is taken from the ESV, but there is no ESV translation of the book of the Bible. So we're using the NIV. We spent a lot of time talking and praying about that. Hemos hablando y compartiendo mucho acerca de cuál traducción de la Biblia vamos a usar. Y muchos nos dijo, vamos a usar Dios habla hoy, porque es más confortable para muchas personas. Pero no es una buena traducción. Right? It's a transliteration, not a translation. So we went with the NIV, and so the Psalms are taken directly from the NIV.
So you will have it though, so that when we want to use it in a bulletin or something, we can just, it's already formatted and everything.
Yeah,
the right
we don't
way.
have this, the Psalms are up.
I don't think they're up yet.
No, the Psalms are, I think in the coming months.
Sí, pero tengo un documento ya formateado, listo para pulir y para mandarle para poner en el sitio web de.
Yeah. So it should be
I
up.
mean, that would be a big help.
It should
Right
be
now
up
we
soon.
have to, you know, if you want to have them formatted the right way, you have to.
Yeah, and they're going to be formatted exactly the same way as we have in the 2019.
Fantastic.
So they're split with the asterisk and all that.
Sí. Bueno, un
Gracias.
mes o 2 meses a más tardar.
Yeah, so 1 or 2 meses,
Muchas
not
gracias.
meses, months.
We've been waiting for years.
Yeah. Más preguntas, ideas. Por favor, toma tiempo para hablar con el padre Galeano. Él es fantástico con todo eso. Y él va a hablar acerca de su libro. So at the back, I'll just give him a pitch right this. He's written a book on Anglicanism specifically to share with Latinos. So it's written in English and Spanish. So one page is English, one chapter is English, one chapter is in Spanish, right?
Same chapter. Spanish, English, all of it. It's complete in both languages.
Right. And esta es una buena oportunidad. Su libro que se llama Anglicanismo está en inglés y en español. Es fantástico para compartir con personas que creemos como anglicanos. ¿Por qué la iglesia anglicana? ¿Qué es la diferencia entre la iglesia católica y la iglesia anglicana? Todo está documentado en su libro. Everything's in his book. Why English and not, why Anglican and not Roman Catholic? How did he become Anglican? And just speaking about what Sergio said, he really shares of himself in this book and the experience of he and his wife and the loss of their son. I mean, it's a really powerful book that my wife and I read together, and that we're now giving out. And it's also published by Anglican House Publishers. So, ¿estamos listos para la bendición?
So anuncio ya vamos a tener la comida. The announcement, we're ready for having our lunch today, and I want to ask